particularly in the remotest parts of Africa. Well, the topic today is very, very interesting. Politics of development, economics, and peace building. It seems something is going on here between development economics and the idea of peace building. We'll find out a post-colonial global North hegemonic agenda. So Oluwagbemiga Dasylva is bringing us this poignant question, which we better not get ahead of ourselves. We better wait for him to steer this ship, lest we become another Titanic. So Oluwagbemiga Dasylva is a doctoral student at the Carter School for Conflict Analysis and Resolution at the famous George Mason University. I was hoping to get a round of applause right there. Okay, you can clap where you are. Don't worry. If you're driving, please do not leave your wheels. Hold on to the wheels. So we are happy to have him here. He'll decide how he wants to flow, and we'll go with him. He'll talk to us, talk to the topic. And by the way, this is a journal paper he has done that he's trying to share some of those ideas with us in these exchanges. I have the abstract from that paper here, which I'll read in a jiffy. And afterwards, we'll open the floor. But before I read, let me once again welcome every one of you to today's conversation. The abstract. Development economics or international development aid emerged to channel economic resources from the global north to the developing world for development purposes. Critics have drawn attention to how development economics or international development aid and the more recent approaches to peace building have become conservative, if not neo-colonial enterprises. The imperialist colonies interaction had existed before and served as harbingers of the donor recipient interaction. there is still great suspicion among critics that there has not been any significant departure from this historic past and colonial mindset and what characterized today's economic aid transactional dynamics. Through secondary data analysis and archival studies, uh, this paper, which he's speaking to today, explains the classic narratives of internationalization of development economic aid and original design and objectives, the praxis, benefits, or outcomes for the global north, and the implications for the developing world, that is the global south. Methodology engages the various critical approaches to international development and where these neocolonial sentiments may have originated from, as well as the informing rationale. Uh, Men and women scholars in this house this afternoon, help me welcome my good friend, a wonderful scholar and very intelligent individual, as you find, a great scholar, uh, Dr. Toby, by the way, Benga Dasylva.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity that you guys have given to me to come and talk to you today and share my thoughts and opinion. So this is the way I'm going to go about it. I'm just going to, play a little bit. And as a matter of fact, I hope that you guys do not take me serious. And this is the reason why I don't want you to take me serious. Number one, going by the title, it's my thought. It's one of my ideas, one of my many, many crazy ideas. So, one day I was just thinking about it, development economics, peace building, all of that. And I'm like, we're just like pawns. We're like, we're just like pretty much pawns. And that brought about the title. So that's one of the reasons why I don't want you guys to take it serious. This is a very serious business, but at the same time, I want us to, I will, share my thoughts and opinions and then give opportunities for questions and discussions, and whichever way you want the discussion to go is fine. But I'm just glad that this is an opportunity for me to present one of my weird thoughts and ideas. And here is the way I'm going to go about it. Number one, I'm interested in peace building. I'm interested in conflict. I'm interested in this idea of stories because I happen to be a son of two storytellers. So I just found out that I love stories. I love stories because I make stories into narratives, because narratives then give me data to play with stories. So that's the reason why I'm very happy that I'm given the opportunity to play with my words, play with my thoughts, and then, you guys can tell me what you think about some of these ideas. The number one idea that prompted the title, The Politics of Development, Economics, and Peace Building, a Post-Colonial Global North Hegemonic Agenda, that is a question. What prompted it are these ideas of mine. That one, Africa is experiencing a crisis of identity. Number one, that Africa is experiencing an identity crisis. We don't seem to know who we are. And of course, scholarship and loads of literature has pointed that out, that of course, colonialism set us back. Yes, and I'm not saying that I'm an opportunist, and I'm not saying that I'm saying, oh yeah, we're where we are because it's not our fault. Yes, it's our fault. And of course, no, it's not our fault. And of course, don't mind me. I told you earlier that I'm playing, right? This is still part of the play. But while I'm saying this, I want you guys to pick the nuggets that I'm trying to leave out there. Yes, it's not our fault. And no, it's our fault. We will get to that in the discussion, as I hope that we will. That's number one. Number two, that we have not transitioned into the face of independence. That is, Africa is still locked in that colonial phase. We are still there. We were handed independence. Yes, true. But we were not handed independence. Again, similar to what I said, it's not our fault, but yes, it's our fault. All right, we have independence. But again, I said we don't have independence because independence in the thoughts of the African forebears is true economic and political independence. So Africa gained the political independence. As a matter of fact, shrouded of some sort. It's still not the real thing. But let's say, all right, let's assume we've got independence. 1960, 1963s and stories like that. The global north kind of interestingly designed it, in my thoughts, in such a way that as long as we do not have economic independence, then they still get to write our story. Because I said earlier, I love stories. I love stories because I make stories into narratives, and narratives then allow me to think, to understand what the letters are saying. So now I'm saying that we are not even the one writing our story. That is, the Global South is not an author of its own story. Because while we were handed political independence, we were not given economic independence. And as long as we were not given economic independence, it means that each time we need to go to the grocery store, then we need to call daddy. And if we need to go to the mechanic and daddy doesn't feel like he wants us to drive for the next couple of months, then daddy doesn't give us money to fix the car. And yes, you have your own house, right? You have your own this, you have your own that, but you don't have that economic independence. You still have to go to the big bros. And as long as that keeps happening, we don't even have the pen to write our own history. And that is what I'm saying. So the number 3 point that I said influenced this question is that we've been asking the wrong questions, because in our mind, in the minds of the forebears, African forebears, the global South, we thought that we have actually transitioned into a true independent reality, which is not true in any way. It's not true in any form or shape. So I'm sorry to break it to us that in my mind, one of the thoughts that I keep playing with is the idea that the global South has not fully attained that height, that level, to which it should start asking questions about development, because we are not the ones writing our own story. And I already said the reason why, I made that assumption. Africa needs complete and full economic independence. We need complete and full political independence. And of course, there are strands, there are layers to what I said. I just made that because I needed to get to that point. I said the reason why I'm thinking about the politics of development, economics, and peace building is because of these questions that I've been thinking about. And number one is we're still where we are. We've not transitioned. We've not moved, because the reality of what we're living right now in the global South is we're living the stories that are being written about us. Nigeria became what it is today, for example, the name Nigeria. It was not a national, in quote, consensus of some sort to say, right, this is the name we have decided to come up with. And everything that we've done since the Nigerian name emerged has been around that name. And we're not even the author of the name. Nigerians were not the author of the name given to their country. And everything that we seem to have been doing has been around that name that we didn't even offer. All right, then we say we've taken ownership of that. All right. Wouldn't I describe that as a colonial property? It means that we don't even have an idea of how it came about. So when you're talking about engineering, right? You bought a car, a Tesla. Everybody drives a Tesla now. And you think in my right senses, I'm going to say that my Tesla has a problem, so I'm going to have to take the screwdriver and unscrew it. Will the best thing to do, will it not be for me to drive to Tesla to say, come and fix what you gave me? All right. And that is exactly what the global South has been doing. And that's why I said, we are not the one authoring our story. At every given time, at every given opportunity, we run to them and then they give us the solution. And of course, the solutions are not the solutions, because we're not even so sure of the intention, whether it is for the good or for the bad. So these are the kind of things that I keep thinking about, and I feel it's important for us to start asking this question. But you see, the question is we've been asking the wrong question because we have not transitioned from that colonialism reality into a full independent reality. And unfortunately, people like Awolowo, people like Nnamdi Azikiwe, they struggled with these things. They struggled with how they intend to define the concept of development. They struggled with how they intend to define nationalism, how they intend to define nationality. All of these things are there, which were supposed to be the crux of the discussion, the crux of the conversations at that time. The question is, what happened? What cut those conversations short? And have we taken time to actually go back to start having these conversations? Because if we don't go back to understand what we want Nigerians to experience when we are saying development in Nigerian terms, we don't get to define what we understand peace building to be. But what we think peace building is the solutions and prescriptions that we get from Washington, the solutions and prescriptions that we get from EU, the kind of prescriptions that we get from, you don't even know whether they're undergraduates who are interns and, just because of who you are. The opportunities that present itself to you as part of the West. So some of the things I think is important for us to think about it. I don't want to go too deep into these, but I'm not sure if I've been able to make people think about it. But the idea is we have these classic narratives of internalization of development, economic aid, and the rest of it. Big English, as we may want to say. When we have African politicians postulating and blowing big English about how they think they can solve the Nigerian problems and the problems in their country. And of course, we have those of us who think, oh yeah, we've known enough, and therefore we have answers to the African solutions or to the global South solution. So therefore, we think we know it all. The fact of the matter is, we are all in the same basket. We all have the same experience. We're all victims of this experience. And I think the question is, we should start asking, what phase are we really in? Are we really independent? If we're asking these questions, it's going to start to shape the way we start to think about the solutions we will start thinking about. We probably would, forget about the current solutions we think we have. Scholars in peace building have thought about this notion and the idea that locals should come up with their solution. Yes. And I'm saying we shouldn't even be talking about our solution. We should be talking about the kind of question that revolves around our reality. What phase are we really in? Are we truly independent? And if we are truly independent, why do we still think that we need aid or we deserve to be helped by the same people by the same economic bloc that we castigate at every point in time, that we blame for the conditions in the South right now? We say, oh yeah, it's because of colonialism. So maybe we think because they colonized us, we deserve some pity. And then if that is the case, we should not be angry when the developed economies, throw in their observations and opinions in our own political affairs. Recently, I was very happy about the United States comment with regards to Soludo's emergence as governor in Nigeria, in one of the states in Nigeria. I was very happy about it. And I had a conversation with my dad. I said, it's good. And he was of a contrary opinion in that sense that, yeah, we're independent, but the question is, are we really sovereign? If we're not sovereign, then there is no reason why America should not actually commend a good American democratic election. And I qualified it deliberately, American democratic election, free and fair in that American democratic standard. So that was a good one. And I said that was a good one because we'll still run to these people for aid. We're probably still hoping that the world is going to converge and come together and send us COVID-19 vaccine. Unfortunately, you and I, my brothers, your sisters, your uncles and my uncles, were one of those who came up with those vaccines. There will be Africans, there will be immigrants, there will be a lot of them. Unfortunately, they are not in the continent of Africa. They're either in America or Europe. and then we say, no, it's no longer, we are no longer in the colonial dispensation. Where am I talking from? This idea and this brain, who is, you know? So the point I'm making is this: the brain drain from Africa going to Europe and the rest of it is still the same thing. As a matter of fact, we're now willingly committing ourselves to the greater cause, the greater good. We want to make the world a better place, but we need to make our world a better place first. And how do we start to do that? I think we need to start asking the right questions, which I said we have not been asking. Number one right question would be, are we really independent? Because if we discover that we're not, we probably will start thinking about how to call for another round of independence. And I think when we get that right, our kind of government, democracy of some sort that we will eventually come up with will be better, and it will work for us. You know, and of course, every other thing will fall in line, because we will now start putting our brains into, you know, our problems, and we will start being able to solve our problems by our own hands. So I'm very grateful that you guys have allowed me to share my thoughts and opinions, and that will be that. Any questions, any observations, anything? You guys are welcome.
Thank you so very much, my dear brother. I see there's a hand up. You have you have brought up very fascinating themes and topics which I'd like us to delve into. But before I make any comments, I'm gonna invite our audience to begin the exchange. So when I call you, please, you'll introduce yourself, where you're coming from and what you are into, your field and your interest, and then you make your comment or question. No. So I invite Alexi Obodo to join the conversation. Please unmute.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this event. This was amazing topic. I'm so glad that you were able to delve into something that is a grave issue, especially in the field of international independence and post-colonial independence as well. So my question is for Mr. Benga Dasylva. We live in a society where we're often tied to our salient identities. So how does identity with respect to tribal groups play into the face of post-colonial independence and economic development? Does it work for us or does it work against us?
Can you introduce yourself once again, Alexi?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so my name is Alexis Avoto, and I'm a recent graduate from George Mason University in peace and conflict resolution. So I'm in the international development and social entrepreneurship sector, and this is right up my alley. So I'm so thankful for this opportunity, and I would love to just get an answer to this question. It's something that I've always been interested in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Benga Dasylva, that's yours. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for that question. It's quite interesting that I have to ask that. So, but I'm going to play with it.
Okay.
I'm gonna play with it. Number one, that's why I said Africa is suffering from crisis of identity. It's not just Africa, generally the global South. And the reason why we're suffering from it is because the current identity that we carry right now wasn't the one that we designed by ourselves. And everyone can bear me witness as a Nigerian, as an individual. I'm a Nigerian, I'm a Yoruba man. I could be a Lagosian, I could be an Ekiti man, you see? Those four. That means 4 different characteristics. Probably in Nigerian situation context, I would say 4 different nationalities. So you have a country like Nigeria. Of course, the name Nigeria is not ours. We didn't author the name. You have a country like Nigeria in a geographic space like, say, Texas. That is a problem. With 200 different ethnic groups, that is a recipe for crisis. And that's one of the questions that we need to start addressing. Now, pre-Nigeria, that is before Nigeria became Nigeria, we have had situations where people in Ekiti will go and wage war against another people in Ijebu or something like that. Intertribal war happened. It meant from the get-go, unity in Nigerian space is a big question mark. Because a northerner is first a northerner before he is a Nigerian. And I'm sure that is the sentiment of most Nigerians right now. That is, I am first a Yoruba man before I am a Nigerian. You see, when you start having questions and situations like that, that is a recipe for crisis. We have not addressed the question of unity as individual ethnic entities. We now want to jump several steps to start asking questions about unity as Nigerian. That is a big question. And for me, I used to say that I don't like studying Nigeria because the Nigerian problem is systemic. That is the easiest way to say it. That's the easiest, escape route. But that's not the point. We've had people that have come up with specific solutions to specific problems in Nigeria. And yet we're still dealing with such problems till today. That's not just that. We will continue to do that as long as we defer the days we need to come to terms with the questions, the right questions that we're supposed to be asking. So to go to your question again, it's both for good and for bad. But at the crux of that question is the point of who we are. That is, am I addressing this as a Nigerian, or am I addressing this as a Yoruba man, or am I addressing this as a human being who feels that I need to do the right thing? Because I think until we come to terms with the fact that we all need to agree to start asking the right questions, it can't just come from me or you or the next person. It has to become the conversation. We need to understand that until we have political independence and economic independence, we will still be talking about peace, conflict, development in the terms that the global North wants us to talk about it. So I think we need to change the conversation by first asking the right question. I don't know if I'm able to ask you, if I was able to do justice to that question, but
yes, you did a great job. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Obodo, for that's such a sweet name, Obodo. Come on.
Oh, thank you.
What does that mean?
It means it's like country, like describing your country, like your environment. It's like how you Obodoyibo, like your, I don't know how to explain it in English, but it's pretty much just describing your brother beside you, like that brothership.
you are not related to
To
Joe Biden, are you?
no, no,
All right.
not at all.
Thank you very much.
Uh-uh.
Once again, I'd like to say to speaker for today, Benga Dasylva, thank you very much. You've, I see that the topic you've decided to handle is one that can only be done by troublemakers. So you're going almost into the lion's den and asking the lion to leave its prey. Hey, leave your prey. Leave Africa alone. I hope you don't get a knock on your door. Good luck. So, well, the politics of development. If you're familiar with recent events in particularly Africa regarding China's encroachment, granting of loans, unpayable loans, to African countries. I don't know if you've heard any such stories, and I'd like to hear your thoughts. And quick question, I'd like to ask you straight up, do you think, I can say this question in a whisper almost, do you think African leaders are sleeping? Or
yeah, I will make a couple of comments, maybe one or two.
Yeah.
While we were growing up, we used to think and we used to believe that once you've gotten your educated in America, you're good. Like, it gives the best of education and the rest of it. And I thank God that it is still true right now, but you see, it could still be better. Now, I said that to say that the Chinese are ideologically driven as against what is currently playing out right now in our space, right? It's obvious that when you are ideologically driven, as I used to know that America was at that time growing up. Of course, things have changed. Then that kind of force becomes a force to be reckoned with. And that is what is playing out right now. In trade, that's what is playing out right now. In international politics, that's what is playing out right now in development. So what I'm saying, in essence, is China had it right. And they did it better than what the previous imperialists did. And right now, unfortunately for Africa and fortunately for the Chinese, they have perfectly enslaved that continent. Because, like I said earlier, you are not completely free until you are economically free. See, anybody can allow you freedom. You can have, you can have your maid, you can give that maid a house or a home or a car or anything to make the maid feel good. As long as the maid keeps coming in to do your bidding. And that's what is happening. So they don't have any problem with a sovereign, in quote, Nigeria. They don't have a problem with a sovereign, in quote, Ethiopia. They don't have a problem with a sovereign Zimbabwe. They don't have a problem with that. You can be sovereign for all they care. But who controls the bank? Because that is where sovereignty actually gets properly defined. Who controls the central bank? The French West African countries will tell you their story. Because until you have that economic independence and economic freedom, that is, you determine what goes on in your economy, despite the fact that you are still tied to that global system, until you are able to have a say, there is nothing we can do about it. So China has had it the right. If I'm going to be a strategist for China, that is the first thing that I'm going to say that China should do. Enslave them.
Let me poke you here. Let me poke you. So the West, you know, Europe and America specifically, and maybe with a slight, you know, bent on the side of the East, including the Chinese. These people, we often see them, look at them as bringers of modernity, civilization. There's a way we. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. There's a way we perceive them as receptors, as harbingers of development, of growth and progress. And particularly when it comes to religion, with the religion of Christianity, to be more specific. I mean, we know there are other forms of expressions of religion. Now, what you're saying, I just want to frame it this way without making a judgment, without passing a judgment, which of course everyone knows I have a judgment already. So, but anyways, in order not to pass a judgment while passing a judgment, what do you say is happening if these people have told us, in quotes, stories of the good news of a God who comes to set mankind free, but they are controlling our banks, while we in Africa are shouting hallelujah, and we're going to heaven, hallelujah, but they are controlling our banks. So, Brother Gbenga, help me understand, what is the correlation or contradictions in this hallelujah singing and somebody who is telling you to shout hallelujah being interested in your banks, in your pocket? Can you just tell me, help us understand exactly what is going on? Is hallelujah singing more important than you owning and controlling the banks, or vice versa? What is going on?
So thank you so much for this question. I will still reiterate the fact that the point that we will continue to have 1,000,001 questions to ask, as long as we don't ask the first few most important questions. We, like I said, are suffering from a crisis of identity. We're not sure. We're not even aware that we have not transitioned from that colonial phase. We still think we've been independent. We've gotten our sovereignty. We're free. We have economic. No, we're not close to having economic freedom. And I don't want to go back into that anymore. But Christianity was used as a tool, just as politics was used as a tool, just as the military strength that the West, the Northern economic bloc had. They used that as a tool. So therefore, Christianity in Africa and the rest of the global South was as much a tool as every other thing. Like I would describe the direct and indirect rule. So Christianity is and was a tool, and is still currently a tool. So if it is a tool, then I would suggest that as Christians, we should walk our salvations with fear and trembling as individuals. As for others who are tasked with the responsibility to guide the flock, and they are not doing it, and they're not doing it the right way, I would say that I leave the judgment to them and God, because He's the perfect person to deal with that. He said it earlier, in the Bible, that judgment will start from the church. So I would allow Him to do that, while I deal with the physical ones that I can deal with, the real politics and stories of, us that they tell about us, and stories of them that we tell about, them, stuff like that.
Thank you so very much.
Was I able to escape the?
you did. You did. In fact, you did. You did. Brilliant.
It's a tool. I mean, it's a tool, right? It's a tool. The Bible is a text. The Bible can be used as a weapon. It can be used as, a tool. So, doctrines and all of that they're all tools. So it depends on how you want to engineer that tool. If you want to really use it for the good of humanity, then you don't bring the church into the political arena. You don't bring the church into theaters. You don't bring the church into places where it does not fit. So I don't see why politics and the church should mix in that sense. I'm not saying that pastors shouldn't dabble into business, into politics. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that let politics be politics and let the church be church. Well, and I believe we can all understand what that means. I can be a pastor and I can be a politician, right? It means that if I'm in the pulpit, it is God's business. And if I am out of pulpit, of course, I'm still supposed to conduct myself as a man of God. But if I am a representative of my community just by the virtue of my age or even my responsibility in the church, then so be it. That is politics. So what I'm saying is, we've been unintelligent enough to not, know that we're not supposed to mix politics with the church. And I'm sorry to say that, but pretty much that is what it is. And of course, Jesus demonstrated that to us in the Bible. He flogged them out of the synagogue when they were conducting business in the church. I think I'll follow that example.
Yeah, thank you so very much. The idea of God's business we'll leave that for another day, and where you packed the statement that was very loaded. That's Jesus's involvement with the merchants at the temple, as recorded in the Bible. I think that will be another interesting topic we'll get to some other day. Once again, thank you very much, Oluwagbemiga Dasylva, and to all our participants today. We thank you for engaging us.
Thank you,
Alexi Obodo. We ask that we continue to be on the lookout to future announcements and speakership engagements. We'll be having more of these, and I trust that when next we invite Dasylva, he will oblige us again, hopefully. Again, thank you.
Thank you.